Hi there and welcome to Techflower. The iPhone 15 Pro has a lot of camera settings and features. Let me show you all of the camera settings and all of the features that cameras on the iPhone 15 Pro offer. So let's start with the settings for the camera. So we go into the settings, scroll down to the camera. The first setting is record video. Here we can simply select the frame rate and quality of the video we're recording. I usually have it in 4K at 30 frames per second, but you can select to have it from 720p in 30 frames per second to 4K at 60 frames per second. We have an option to show PAL formats. We have an enhanced stabilization option. We have action mode for lower light to try to stabilize scenes in less bright environments. We have the HDR video option. We have the automatic frames per second. We can have that to off or automatically on 30 frames per second or auto 30 or 60 frames per second. We can have the lock camera feature on that will prevent the phone to switch cameras while you're recording video. Lastly, we can lock the white balance, so while recording video, the white balance won't change throughout the video. So if we go back here, we have an option for record slow-mo, and the only options here are 1080p at 120 frames per second or 1080p at 240 frames per second. Next one is record cinematic video. So in the cinematic mode, we have 1080p 30 frames per second, 4K at 24 and 4K at 30 frames per second. Record sound, we can select it to record in stereo or mono, and we can have it to allow audio playback. It says here audio playback will not pause automatically when recording video. When playing audio using the iPhone speaker, audio will be recorded in mono. Then we have the formats. We have the high efficiency format for the camera capture, and then we have the most compatible. We have photo mode. There we have 12 megapixel or 24 megapixel formats. We have the option for Pro RAW and resolution control, and then we can set the default for the Pro mode. The HEIF Max up to 48 megapixels, Pro RAW 12 megapixels, or Pro RAW Max, which is up to 48 megapixels. If we scroll down here, we have spatial video for Apple Vision Pro, and then we have Apple ProRes, and here we can have the default either at log, SDR, or HDR. If we go back here, then we have preserve settings, and this simply says which settings in the camera should be preserved when you're using the camera. So when you're going in and out of the camera app, which of the settings down here should be preserved. And these are a lot of settings, but you can select and toggle on or off which of these settings should be preserved. Here we can select to use the volume up and down for burst photos. We can use the camera to scan QR codes, but we can also toggle that off. We can also use the camera to detect text. Then we can set to have the grid on the camera and the level indicator. And then we can also set the front camera to be mirrored. And we can also set that when using different lenses that you see outside the frame what the other lenses are seeing. We have different photographic styles, and we can select to use the standard one, but we can see it later on in the camera app itself how we change between these camera styles. And here you can simply set the default one. Here we have different settings for the main camera, basically which lenses should be available in the camera. We have the 28mm, the 35mm, and then which one should be the default lens. And as you can see, it's basically zooming in on the sensor. So the default one is just 1x zoom, 28mm is 1.2x, and 35mm is 1.5x. And then we have portraits in photo mode. That simply captures the depth information when taking pictures in the camera. And there are more settings here. Prioritize faster shooting, so we can let the camera take photos faster, but we might lose some image quality on the way. The lens correction option simply corrects for distortion when we're using the front or the ultra-wide cameras. Then we can have the macro control, so we have a possibility to take macro photos with the macro functionality. And that was the last one of the settings. So let's go into the camera itself and see what we have there. So the first one that we get, it's defaulted now to photos, but that's probably because I had the photos option last selected. So if we start at the bottom here, we see the flower icon here, and that simply shows me that I'm taking photo of something close up, and it's moved over to the macro mode. I can disable that, but you see that then the things that are in front of the camera gets blurred. So I usually have it on auto, and the camera will then decide whether to use the macro mode or not. Here I can switch between the different lenses: the wide camera, the normal lens, the 2x lens, and the 3x1. So the 3x1 is actually a second lens, but the 1 and 2 are the same lens, just digitally zooming in. And then at the top here we have some options as well. We can turn off the flash as it is here. We can turn the flash on, and here we can choose whether we want to use the high max format or not. And this one can put on the live photos or turn it off. Here's another option, the arrow, and that shows down here some more options. So let's go through those. Here we can also control the flash to auto on or off. Here we can also choose whether the live photo should be on or off or auto. And here we can change the different photographic styles as I showed you in the settings. So here we can switch between them: rich contrast, vibrant, warm, or cool. And you see down here, while I scroll through them, these values are changing. And if you want, you can change those, I think. Yep, you can change those by yourself if you want to just set your own photographic style. But I usually have it in standard. Next one is the aspect ratio. You can have it in 4:3, you can have it as squared, or you can have it in 16:9. So the next one is exposure, and that's kind of self-explanatory. It's just set the exposure of the photo. Then we have the timer option. We can either set a 3-second timer, 5 seconds, or 10 seconds. And you simply select the seconds you want and click the shutter button, and you will see a countdown there, and then the camera will take a photo. Really nice when you're taking a photo of a group that you want to be in the photo with. And the last one here are the different filters that you can use. It's kind of similar to the photographic styles. It even has some of the same names: vivid, vivid warm, vivid cool, dramatic, dramatic warm, dramatic cool, mono, silvertone, and noir. So let's move it back to original. And as you saw down here, we have the preview button for the last photo taken that you can click, and you will be directed to the Photos app. You have the shutter button to take the picture, and then down here you can switch to the front camera. And then you will see me. Let's switch back to the main cameras and go out to these extra options here. And if we go this way, we can either scroll or we can select what we want here. Here we have the portrait mode. The portrait mode will add some blur to the background, And we can select to have it in natural light, or we can have it in studio light. We can have it contour light, stage light, then it will have a circle around it. Stage light mono, and then high key light mono. And to go back, we simply scroll all the way. Then we have something called pano, which simply is a panoramic. So how this works, you simply press the shutter button and you follow the line here by turning your phone to the direction of the arrow, and then you just click the shutter button again to finalize the panorama image. If you want to go the other way around, you simply click the arrow and it will go the other way around. And in this view, you can also select which lenses you want to use on the camera. And that was also present in the portrait. You can have 1 time, 2 times or 3 times zoom. So if we go back here, we come to the video formats. And now we have a lot of settings. We have the same here, we have the selection of the cameras and we have the macro mode. But up here we have more settings. Here we have the flash again, where you can put that to on or off. Here we can decide to have the ProRes to on. But since I don't have much storage on my phone now, I can't record ProLog because it takes a lot of space. But I can connect an external storage to my phone and then I can take log photos. So let's turn that off. Here we can have the action shot or action mode set, and that helps me to keep the image stable when I'm taking video of something that is going really fast. But then you see that the quality goes down to 2.8K, so it's cropping into the sensor to create the stabilization. And here you can simply click the resolution to change the resolution. HD, which is 1080p, we have 4K, and then in the end here we can select how many frames per second we want to use, 30 frames, 60 frames, or 24 frames per second. And as I said, I usually have it in 30 frames per second. Here we also have these additional options where we can set the flash. Here we can set the exposure, just like in the photos mode. And here we can switch between the ProRes off or on, like we could at the top here. And here we can also set the action mode. So this menu here doesn't give much more than we have up top here. So we close that. And here, of course, we can switch to the front camera and take videos as well from that. One more thing, as you saw there shortly, we got the spatial video icon. And that icon can be used to record spatial video for the Vision Pro. And I've actually done a specific video on how to record spatial video. So please take a look at that if you want. If we go to the cinematic mode, we only have 1x and 2 times zoom. That's because the camera is using one of the lenses to get some blurry background when taking videos. And you can actually, inside the video, change what the focus should be. And even afterwards, when you're taking the video, you can change the focus point of the subjects in the video. And up here, it's the same as before. You can turn on the flash or turn it off. Up here, you can set the focus point by dragging down here. So that will simply set how much blur you will get in the video. And of course, you can set the resolution here as you did in the other video format. But you can see here that you won't get the 60 frames per second option for the cinematic option. You also have some additional settings here. That's the flash, the focus point, and the exposure as before. If we go out of that, that's all for the cinematic mode. Then we have the slow motion. And as you saw in the settings, we only had 2 options to choose from. We have the 240 frames per second or 120 frames per second, only in HD, which is 1080p. We have the flash option here as well as before, and also we only have the 3 different cameras: the wide camera, the 1x zoom and 3x zoom. And you see that the button has changed a little bit, showing that this is a slow-mo recording. And as in the other modes, you can use the front camera as well to take slow-mo video. The last one here is time-lapse. Time-lapse simply takes a few photos in a row with a certain set of seconds in between photos. In this mode you can use all of the different lens settings, the wide camera, 1x zoom, 2x zoom or 3x zoom, and even the front-facing camera. Let's see what options we have here. Here we only have the exposure control. So these were all the camera settings and features on the iPhone 15 Pro. I really hope you learned something new about the camera settings and features of your own iPhone 15 Pro. But keep in mind that many of these settings and features are also available on the iPhone 15, the iPhone 14, the iPhone 13 and going further down. So this video can definitely be useful if you have an older iPhone as well. And if you like this video, please check out all the other videos on my channel and please consider subscribing as well, because it really helps my channel grow. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe and share. See you in my next video.